I've interviewed you a couple times, but I don't feel like you understand the Wisdom Council so much, or the difference and things like that. So one of the things that I would like is to clear that up, or
Okay.
maybe not clear it up, but at least address it some. You know?
Sure.
What did you have something that you?
No, I
We're
didn't have
thinking-
anything special that I wanted to talk about. One thing that my daughter is trying to get me to do is to do a better job of listening.
Oh.
So I shall see
You don't-
if I
Lisa.
can do a good job of listening to
Oh,
you.
okay, good.
I'm just two friends.
Yeah, two friends talking. Okay, so
Two friends talking who care about democracy, who care deeply about democracy.
yeah, over the top, in fact.
Which I think makes us very different from most people. I think there are a great number of people in America who care about democracy itself in some way, but if they want to do something to make politics work better, they become engaged in the political system, or they become so frustrated with the political system that they give up. But
Yeah.
there are very few people, as far as I know, who have really tried to look at democracy itself and make it work.
And we live in the same town,
Yes.
most of the time.
Yes,
So.
within a mile of each other.
I mean, to me, the Wisdom Council process and the citizen jury process work together, can work together very well. And the fundamental difference is in the thinking. In other words, how, if we the people were to, or if we were to start talking and thinking and working things out,
Mm-hmm.
how would we think? What would the thinking process be?
Mm-hmm.
And the founders of our country set up, kind of as an ideal, I think, deliberative democracy. Or actually, a rational debate was sort of their aim, I think, but they aspired to deliberative, to be more rational, to be more knowledgeable about the subject, to weigh the options and choose intelligently. But that was just a pipe dream. But that was their dream, it seemed to me. And then even behind that was another dream of, wouldn't it be really cool if men were angels to just talk together, everybody, and visit and figure out what's best, to face these problems and figure out what's best. And it seems to me those are the two. The citizen jury aspires to that first aim, and the Wisdom Council aspires to the second. The Wisdom Council is not trying to be rational and deliberate, and where everybody understands certain facts ahead of time and going logically through solving the problem. But I think the citizen jury is.
Mm-hmm.
It's trying to do that. And it's not, it does as good as it can do, but I think there are limits on that approach entirely. But it's certainly not bad. It's certainly it's a great thing to aspire to. But even more basic would be where we just forget the Constitution for a moment, and we all just come together like they did as founders, but only all of us, and figure out, hey, how are we doing? Is this okay? Do we want to keep going this direction? Do we want to try something new? Is this Constitution working, or are these institutions working? That more basic conversation, I think, is possible, and the Wisdom Council is trying to get that to happen.
Is there any example we could choose? Port Townsend needs to make a decision about what to invest in parks versus roads.
The City Council could say, let's convene a Wisdom Council process to look at this issue of roads versus parks. But the Wisdom Council might go some different direction. They might not come back with roads versus park. They might say, hey, wait a minute, our whole, that polarity is just not really there. It's something else, and this isn't even a political matter, Shouldn't be made up by the City Council. It's really up by the citizens, or I don't know what they would say. But the conversation isn't in the box. We don't constrain it it's not a city council conversation. Once you open that door, it becomes a we the people conversation.
Okay.
And if we keep doing that, if we do it on a regular basis, we the people could say, hey, let's not have a city council.
Okay.
Let's have a different structure. I mean, in other words, it's like opening Pandora's box to do choice creating on a whole system level, because actually, we the people, if somehow that were facilitated, is the ultimate authority in society.
Mm-hmm. Now, my thinking of raising a challenge is who's running the show? And I've sat on boards of directors of nonprofit organizations, and there's often a question of who's running the show. Is it the board of directors, or is it the executive director, or is it the major foundation that's giving the money?
Right.
But how does this deal with the problem of who's running the show and what to do next?
Great question, I think. I think that's a great question. Okay, so and this is fairly recent, what I envisage is that we get the community foundation here in Port Townsend, for instance, to run the show. So they would have a wisdom council every 6 months.
Mm-hmm.
And they would have a little mini competition between the county government or the Quilcene government or the schools or the hospital, whoever has an issue. The port has this jetty issue. Whoever has an issue, that sort of competes, and then that issue becomes what the issue that they give to the Wisdom Council for that 6 month period, or for that gathering. And then, anyway, that's who I think should run the show, is that there should be a convener that's outside of politics that is doing this for the benefit of society.
So it's an interesting question about when the challenges of workability need to be brought in, without doing so in such a way as to cut off the inventiveness of what you're trying to create.
Well, see, but I'm in this place of thinking it's working. I mean, I've done experiments in corporations. I've done experiments in schools. I've done experiments in cities. And I say I haven't. I mean, a lot of people have done now. And to the other people are looking and maybe saying, oh, gee, nothing happened. But I'm thinking, wow, this is working. And so I don't feel that discouragement. And you've spent millions, and I haven't spent millions yet. I'm looking forward to spending millions. So it's not a...
Okay.
I don't think it's hard for me to hear people say it won't work when I think it sort of already is working.
Okay. Is it working at a level that satisfies you?
So what has to happen, I believe, and to make me happy, is that the Wisdom Council process gets applied nationally and gets applied globally, both. It's not an option in my mind. It's not a nice to have. I don't know of another way to exert global intelligence about our situation.
But then if you were to say this to the Smith Foundation, the Smith Foundation says, and I'm on the board of the Smith Foundation, and the Smith Foundation says, well, Jim's made this presentation, we've got to go global, and we think we're going to take our 10 million and...
Go somewhere else, sure, and I'll help you. I think a better answer might be, look, where there's 8 steps, doing it global means 8 steps. Each step is a tremendous benefit all by itself.
Okay.
All by itself.
No, wait.
Here we are in a mess.
Hold on, wait, slow down.
Yeah.
I haven't heard about the 8 steps before, so please go through them.
Well, I mean, I don't know if I can remember everything, but step number 1, we randomly select, say, 24 global citizens. We hire an outfit, and they pull them together. Actual random selection of 24 people from the world. They come together. We bring them together at a central location, and we take their picture.
Mm-hmm.
That right there is a big deal. We've already done step one, and that's huge. We've assembled a random selection of people, and they are now a symbolic voice of the people. They're a symbol of the people. Now we send them in the room in all their different languages and their different perspectives and whatever, and they're talking about climate change or whatever it might be. And in 3 days or so, they come out pumped, excited. They have unity because they were in choice creating.
Mm-hmm.
And they have a voice of the people. Step two. So we haven't even spent that much money. We just randomly selected people. We had to pay airplane tickets, and this probably got a volunteer random group. And then we had to play a dynamic facilitator and a room and a venue, whatever.
Okay.
That's it.
Okay.
And hopefully we got a couple media, and those people speak with unity.
Mm-hmm.
They speak. Here's what we think the issue is. Here's where we're going with it. Whatever. That's it. So then, step three, we convene a party.
A party.
We have celebrities come and national figures and supposedly wise people, church figures, whatever. They come and and they present to this body of people. We have
the
Wisdom Council walks on
presents.
stage and says, look at how different we are. Look at how weird we are. We don't know. And we faced this problem of climate change, and we came to unity.
Mm-hmm.
We're pumped about it. And here's how we did it. Here's the breakthroughs we had along the way.
Mm-hmm.
And then they're done.
Mm-hmm.
Now, in the audience, we have these celebrities and the cameras walking around. They're filming these people, and they're basically saying, well, yeah. Why aren't we doing that? How do we do that? What do we get organized? Why aren't we telling people? And so all of a sudden, even though we don't have everybody in the world watching yet, we have a stir, we have a symbolic voice of the people, and we have a megaphone that's starting to promote this voice of the people. And the prospect that next time you might get selected. We randomly select a new group in 6 months. Brand new group. We go to different countries, and we have a thing, and 2 from China and 1 from Ethiopia. Nobody from the U.S. this time, but a couple from Northern Europe. I don't know. In other words, we have this. You and I have facilitated this global conversation that is now beginning to take root, because this time the group takes the conversation another step forward. And all of a sudden you begin to realize, my God, this is sort of like democracy, only this is higher level democracy than I can get in my local town. This is we the people speaking. There isn't any government to interfere. There's just all these people all worried about problems with no way to think them through. So each step we do down the road is a tremendous benefit, and it doesn't cost that much.
Okay. One of the things that happened with the citizens' jury process that presents a challenge to what you're talking about is what happened in England with regard to citizens' juries. That's when Gordon Brown in 2006, if I remember, went around Great Britain running what he called a citizens' jury, which lasted a day rather than 5 days, and which had an agenda set in such a way that the randomly selected citizens always came out favoring his view on health care. And that was about the end of experimentation with citizens' juries. The national governments are not going to change because of the excitement in that room.
Well, see, there's a big distinction. This is a key factor. This is the magic sauce that I try to talk about, but it's hard. Decision making, when we do decision making, it's not particularly resonant. We tell people and then they know.
Okay.
But when we do choice creating, it's resonant. In other words, the whole room, when that wisdom council speaks, is basically going, yeah.
Okay, but
and they're not only resonating to what the group is saying, but they start changing how they talk to others about what they're saying.
Okay. What you're saying is that you think it's easier to do it globally because the problems we're facing globally are so immense, and we're not dealing with them.
We don't have any way to deal with it.
And I certainly think that there's a charming notion of bringing together 16 people or whatever from around the world and bringing them together and having translators and so they can work. I think that would be fascinating. I think it probably would get pretty good coverage.